Let me know if any of this sounds familiar. While everyone else is out singing carols and decking the halls, you are barely keeping your head above water because you're trying to do all that and prep all of your lessons and activities for that first week back after winter break. The struggle is real, am I right? And don't even get me started on all the behaviors that start to pop up at this time of the year. That's why in this episode, I'll be helping you get a jump start on your planning for the new year. That's right, I'm sharing absolutely everything you need to start the new year off on the right foot. So first up, we have some read-alouds that you're going to need to have a successful circle time in your classroom. These are just a few of the more than 30 books I have on the winter book list, which we will link in the show notes directly below the video if you're watching along, or you can go to prekpages.com and search winter books. And the first book here is How to Catch a Snowman. This is by Adam Wallace and Andy Elkerton. And this is super fun because you can also turn it into a STEM activity because the children in this book are trying to catch the snowman. And it has really fun text. And it also rhymes. So this is a really fun book. There's an entire series, and I bought this series through Scholastic not long ago, and there's one to go with just about every season or theme. And these are super popular in the early childhood classroom. Next up, we have a classic. No early childhood classroom is complete without a copy of The Mitten by Jan Brett. Every single library out there will have a copy of this for you. And Jan Brett is like the gold standard of all early childhood picture books and literacy. We just love Jan Brett's books in early childhood because they are such rich illustrations and the stories are so well told. And this is just a must read for every early childhood classroom. So I've been reading this for years and years. Other teachers have been reading these books for years and years, but this is one of my favorites for a winter theme. All the animals try to fit in the mitten, and then there's a whole sequence of the events. Kids love it. It's great for retelling and all kinds of acting out and great things. Then another Jan Brett that I like, because you can never have too much Jan Brett in your life if you teach preschool, is Jan Brett's The Three Snow Bears. So as you probably already guessed, it's the story of Goldilocks, only told with an Arctic theme, and they are polar bears, and there is an Inuit child in this one. So very, very cool book. Add a little diversity to your classroom, compare and contrast between the regular Goldilocks and the Three Bears that you read. But I absolutely love this book. Anything by Jan Brett, you can't go wrong. And then, of course, another fun read is Snowmen at Night by Carolyn Buhner. This one, I love the beautiful illustrations in these books by Carolyn Buhner because they're full bleed. That means the ink goes all the way to the edges of the page. There's some rhyming text here. It's very simple, but it's very imaginative, right? When you're reading this book, they're gonna try to guess what the snowmen do at night when we sleep. And of course, the book has some suggestions, but one of the things my kids loved to do with this book was we would each draw a picture of what we thought the snowmen might be doing and create a class book to go with it. So this is a fantastic book to read aloud during circle time in your pre-K or preschool or TK classroom. And again, those are just a few of the 30 different books I have on the winter book list. So in addition to having great books to read aloud, you're also going to want to have some circle time games. And so inside my winter bundle, you're going to find 2 different snowman circle time games. One focuses on letter identification and the other on numeral recognition. And those 2 games are super fun. You just put the cards in a pocket chart and you hide the picture behind one of the cards, and the children have to guess which card the image is hiding behind. And it is super fun and very engaging. It will hold your children's attention. They're going to be looking for the thing. It's an element of surprise. All the ingredients for a successful circle time using these circle time games. So now that you've got everything for circle time, now we're going to look at centers. And of course, no early childhood classroom is complete without some type of sensory table or sensory bin. And for a winter theme, it's perfect to have snow in your sensory table. Now, if you live somewhere cold where it's already snowed and you're good to go, you can just put real snow in your sensory bin. But if you don't, then you can use fake snow or Insta snow. It's kind of become known as. And this is just a polymer type of a stuff that you add water to and it puffs up and turns into fake snow. And you can just keep adding water to it each day so that it puffs up again and again. And it is super fun. And if you're watching along, I have some photos here on the screen for you as well. I've used both depending on where you live. Using real snow could be super fun. You might want to add some gloves or mittens to your bin in that case because their little hands are going to get cold. And you'll have to be prepared to change it out often as the snow melts. The fake snow lasts a lot longer. You don't need mittens for it. And it's super fun for those of you that live in areas that don't get snow. But lots of opportunities to explore and discover in your sensory bin with snow. The ones I have here are creating snowmen using the snow, right? Making snowballs or pretend snowballs and the different pieces of a snowman. So while we're on the topic of sensory, why not make a snowman sensory bottle? So this particular snowman sensory bottle is super cute because you can make the bottle look like a snowman and you can make the inside of the bottle look like it's snowing, and it's super easy to make. I made this with an entire group of more than 100 pre-K teachers one time when I did a workshop. Super fun and engaging. Kids love it. All kids want to hold it and shake it and watch the snow fall. It can also be very, very calming for kids. Next up, we have snowman Play-Doh. And this is just straight up white Play-Doh. You can add a little glitter if you want, but it's not necessary. And then I've just arranged a bunch of different loose parts on a tray, and the kids can then make their own snowman using these loose parts. And so we've got little scraps of fabric to make scarves. You can find whatever loose parts you have, buttons for eyes, toothpicks for the twigs, or even real twigs if you have them, if you have access to them, things like that. Now, I did find some really cute, tiny little snowman hats at the craft store, and I think these were purchased from Hobby Lobby a couple years ago. They're not necessary at all, but I was willing to make that investment just for a little bit of extra fun, but not necessary at all. But kids will love to make snowmen using this really fun and exciting kind of snowman loose parts Play-Doh tray. So next up, we have a super fun snowman counting game. Cut the mouth out of the snowman. You're going to attach the mouth to the front of a tissue box. So I'm holding one of those square tissue boxes and the opening is facing the camera here. So you would put the snowman face right on here on the front of the box, and then the hole where the mouth is. Now you have a place where you can put things, right? So we're going to be counting with this snowman counting game, the number of snowballs to feed the snowman. And these are just pom-poms. I actually found a little sparkly white pom-poms I thought looked like glistening snow. You don't need those. You could even use cotton balls because the objective of this activity is really number sense, right? There's a bunch of different ways you can play it. You can use tally marks. You can use pips on a dice. There's counting fingers, all of the good stuff, and numerals as well. And of course, no theme would be complete without a corresponding dramatic play center. So for a winter theme, I like to use a hot cocoa or a hot chocolate stand. And in this case, we have all the wonderful parts and pieces to make your very own hot chocolate stand with your kids. So there are a few pieces that I have purchased in the pictures that I'm showing here on the screen, but you don't need to if you don't have the funds to do that. But basically, we've got little coffee cups of some sort. So whatever you have already in your dramatic play center that you can repurpose for this use is wonderful. And then you can use the printables to enhance the play. So of course, there's order here, there's a menu, place your order, pay for your hot chocolate and the different things you want in your hot chocolate. It is super fun and a great way to spice up your winter dramatic play center. Now, one thing we all know as early childhood professionals is that our students need as much fine motor practice as they can get. And that's why in the winter bundle, I have some exclusive fine motor printables that aren't available elsewhere. So first up, we have the brand new cotton swab daubing activities. And so this is a picture of a mitten with these little dots around the edge of the mitten. And your students can use Q-tips or cotton swabs to paint the little dots around the edge. And while they're doing this, they are holding the Q-tip or the cotton swab in their fingers, right? And they are practicing dipping it into the paint and painting on the dots. So it's much easier said than done for young children. It's for us as adults, it's super easy, of course, but for kids, it can be challenging. And so they're going to be dipping and dotting over and over again. And of course, if they finish, then they can paint the rest of the mitten and the inside as well. And this one, I was doing a pattern just because I felt like it, but your kids don't have to do that. They could if they wanted to, but you get the idea. There's a set of these. So a set of these Q-tip dot painting fine motor activities. And then we also have these super fun poke pictures as well. Picture of a mitten with dots around the edges. And then this in my hand that I'm holding here is a toothpick. And all the children need to do, of course, there's a place for them to write their name. They can trace the word mitten if you'd like them to. It even has an I can statement at the bottom. I can use a toothpick or a push pin to punch a hole on each dot. And so then they just punch the hole on the dot. And when they have all the dots punched out, they can hold it up to the light and watch the light shine through. I like to call those constellation activities. In case you're wondering, I have the paper on top of a piece of craft foam. And then I have the craft foam and the paper and the toothpick in a tray here so that when they punch through, they're not going to hurt anything below, right? This is fantastic for fine motor skills because they have to grip and then push. And so grip and push. And they're using that pincer grasp in their 3 fingers here. We call those 3 fingers the tripod, right? They're using those 3 fingers. That's why a lot of teachers use giant push pins, not the kind that you can swallow, but we're talking really big because that really promotes this pincer grasp right here that they can push into the paper. Q-tip doesn't offer as much of a place to grip, although you could try to put it through a lump of Play-Doh if that would help as well. There's a set of these in the winter bundle along with a set of the Q-tip painting ones as well. They're not all the same image. There's different images for each set, but these are some of my new exclusive fine motor activities in the winter bundle. There's also a hole punching activity and a scissor skills activity in the winter bundle as well. So lots of opportunities for fine motor practice in the winter bundle. That brings me to science. Now, winter in science, there's a lot that you could do. So I actually have 2 different science units that you can choose from for your winter theme. And for most of you, you're probably doing this over multiple weeks anyway. So you can easily add 2 of these to your entire month if you're doing the theme for a month. So first we have animals in winter. And then we also have ice and snow. So the ice and snow, obviously you'll be doing experiments and hands-on activities using ice and snow, or fake snow if that's the case. And the other is learning about animals that hibernate. So lots of science activities. Each science unit can be done in 1 week, or they can be expanded to 2 very easily because there's a lot of activities in each one. You've got your science activities. Now you're going to need your small group activities. So we've got small group literacy and small group math activities for you in the winter bundle. These are the meat and potatoes of your winter bundle, right? For your winter theme. These are where you're going to teach the skills based on your student's assessment. So if your assessment tells you that you have 5 students who really need help identifying more than 5 letters. And you're going to put those kids in a group, and you're going to use the activities in the literacy bundle to help support that particular group achieve that particular goal. Now you might have another group who's already moved on to sounds and they're doing well in this area and they just need some more help with sounds. Then you're going to focus on those activities according to your assessment. That's what your assessment has told you. And you're going to use those activities from the literacy bundle. Very same is true for math. So you've got lots of activities in both to choose from so that you can differentiate to meet the individual needs of each student in your class. So that brings me to pattern blocks. So we have winter pattern block mats, and this could totally be a small group activity, or you could just put it in your math center for independent practice. And here I have one of our pattern block mats. Now there is an optional counting portion of this that I have cut off the bottom, but you can leave it there if your kids need that extra practice, or if they're ready for that kind of thing. So it just depends on the age group that you're working with. So definitely not your 3s, maybe your older 4s, and definitely your 5s. So here I have the pattern blocks, and I can use my mat to match the shapes on the mat. So this is great shapes practice, hand-eye coordination, spatial relationships, because kids are flipping and turning these shapes, which we know is in all the standards. And they are making a snowflake in this case. This is the one I'm showing you on the screen, but there are a set of images in the winter pattern block set so that your kids will have several choices. They could trace that word at the bottom. It says snowflake there. So if you were going to put these in page protectors, they could do that with a vis-a-vis marker or something like that. But again, there's an optional portion at the bottom that I cut off that's for counting the number of each of these things. So how many blue did I use? How many green? How many yellow? And how many of these buff colored ones did I use? We also have the same thing available for geoboards. So again, they're going to use geoboards and loom bands. That's LOOM, loom bands to use on the geoboards. So all in, there are 22 different things inside of this bundle, and each one of them is many, many pages. So the other things that are in the bundle that I haven't mentioned yet, how to make hot chocolate sequencing activity. So there's cards, there's a booklet, there's a cut and paste activity that's in there. And of course, your kids can make pretend hot chocolate and follow the steps in that activity as well. Then you've got your Play-Doh mats, your winter Play-Doh mats. That's another fine motor type activity where kids are rolling dough and shaping dough to create pictures on their mats. Then we've got the emotion mats, which is another winter fun activity, but it's also got some social emotional learning in it because kids are identifying the face on the mat, then they're recreating the face, and then there's also a literacy element with one-to-one correspondence, left to right directionality, and all kinds of great literacy skills as well as emergent reading skills. And then for those of you that live in climates where your kids have to wear winter gear, there's a how to dress for winter bundle in there as well, a packet. So it will help your kids with the step-by-step process. Now, I have taught in Michigan before. Most of my time, as you probably already know, was spent in Texas, but I did teach in Michigan for a couple of years. And let me just say that if I had a penny for every time one of my kids tried to put their boots on before their snow pants, I would be in really good shape for retirement because they just don't have the sequence of skills down. There's too many steps. And so this helps break those steps down, gives them a visual reminder, a tool to help them get things on in the right order. So anyway, this will help combat that problem. Then there's winter bingo. So if you do a winter celebration, which is something you might even be able to use earlier than January. So if you're going to have a winter celebration instead of a holiday celebration in your classroom, winter bingo is perfect for that. So that's just for fun. We used to do bingo on Fun Fridays. So it's a great listening and following direction activity. So lots of educational benefits of bingo as well. And then of course, the lesson plan template is always included in our bundles. And so that is a template. There's also a done for you portion where it lays out the different things that we have. in each of the different centers in your classroom, as well as your small group literacy and math. And then it also has a editable blank template so you can fill in your own if you prefer. So that is included in the bundle as well. So overall, it's 22 different pieces and parts so that you will have everything you need to start your year off on the right foot when you come back from winter break in January. I know that not everyone watching this gets a winter break, and I get that. And so if you don't get a break, my heart goes out to you, and I really hope that you can find some time to spend resting and recharging over the very short time that you might get off. I also want to remind you that when you come back, if you do get time off, your kids will need reminders of how things work in the classroom. I taught for 20 plus years, and there was never a year when my kids came back after winter break acting like the angels they were before break, right? Just like you, right? You probably got to go to the bathroom at any time that you wanted over winter break. And now you're back in the classroom, and it can be an adjustment, right? So be prepared for more potty breaks and possibly even potty accidents. So it's a really good idea to ask for those extra clothes to be refreshed. I can't tell you how many times all the kids had clothes in the fall when we started school because it was like mandatory, and then everything was going smoothly. We come back from winter break and all they've got is their summer clothes that their parents sent in at the beginning of the year, and now it's freezing cold out and they're wearing shorts and a t-shirt because they had an accident and needed to change. So this is a good time to refresh your children's clothing that they keep for emergency purposes. Your kids are going to need a lot of reminders about how things work in the classroom. So we have an entire bundle all about visual routines, right? All the different things that you spent so much time in the beginning of the year establishing those routines and procedures in your classroom, those all need to be reviewed when you come back. So your first day back from any kind of a break is to start reviewing those things and to put very few expectations on yourself that first day back. I know that all the administrators out there are like, let's get going. We have content to teach, but you really can't teach content until you have the kids ready to receive the content. So we have to take time to review those rules, routines, and procedures. And just know that the remembering that's done by the children in our classrooms is going to be different for each child. Some children may come in and it's like you haven't ever taught them before, right? Even though they were there in the beginning of the year, it's going to be like a whole brand new starting over for them, for some. And others are going to just slip back into the routine really easily. So it just depends. Some years are harder than others. Give yourself some grace and know that you're going to need to take a little time to do that. But I hope that these activities and ideas that I shared with you in this episode today will help make coming back to school in January just a little easier. And don't forget, if you like this episode and any of the things that I talked about, you can find the links directly below to the winter bundle, directly below the video. So if you're watching along, expand that little box right underneath the video that says more. Just click that down arrow, and that's where all the links are. You might have to scroll to get to them all. And if you're listening along, go to prekpages.com, and you can listen to the latest episode right on the homepage now, because we've redesigned the homepage to make it easier to find all the things that you need and want. So I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your winter break, if you get one. And if not, I wish you did. Until next time, I'm Vanessa Levin. Onward and upward. If you think these videos are valuable, you have got to come check out the Teaching Trailblazers program. Teaching Trailblazers is the place for teachers like you to get the professional development resources and support you need to thrive. It's where you can learn relevant, life-changing best practices with professional development created specifically around the challenges early childhood teachers face. It's where you can get access to a complete research-based pre-K curriculum that you can use either to supplement your existing curriculum or use on its own to get 100% of your students kindergarten ready by the end of the year. And it's where you can hang out and connect over all things early childhood with other teachers just like you and me. It's my favorite place on earth, and it will change your teacher life, I guarantee it. Come join us at teachingtrailblazers.com to get more information and apply today. That's teachingtrailblazers.com. I can't wait to see you there.